So the early 90s and late 80s were an interesting time in automotive. You had the American car manufacturers that just couldn't make anything fun, or if they did, it looked cool, but didn't really go anywhere. Insert into that world the Japanese, who were known at that point in time for making boring sedans and econo boxes that got really good fuel economy, but that's about it. When it came to something exciting, you had like the Celica and the 240s. All of, you know, they were neat. They were interesting little cars, but they weren't anything to really threaten anything as far as muscle cars from America or exotics from Europe. So in the late 80s, we had this wonderful thing called turbocharging come on the scene. Everybody got into that game. Toyota had something, Nissan had something, Mitsubishi had something. Everybody had something. Well, Mitsubishi had a 3000 GT. What I'm driving right now is the Dodge version of a Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4, a Dodge Stealth twin turbo. Nissan had their 300ZX twin turbo. Both were great cars. Both have pretty good aftermarket support. Okay, let's be honest, the Nissan has better support than the 3000 GT. These cars tended to break things. They were overly complicated. They're interesting, they're cool looking, they're pretty quick, but when you break something, they're really, really expensive. Because unfortunately, Nissan, and specifically Mitsubishi, didn't really do a whole lot of engineering when it came to engineering and reliability. They made all kinds of cool features and all kinds of neat options on these cars, but they weren't what you would call reliable. However, into that mix stepped Toyota. And Toyota, as we all know, stands for reliability. Toyota built this wonderful thing called a 2JZ. The 2JZ GTE platform, if you haven't heard about it, you've been living under a rock. It was a fantastic platform. Came out in the early 90s, and it took the world by storm. Then you had this video called Fast and Furious come out, which absolutely immortalized the 2JZ GTE platform. Well, if you've tried to buy yourself a Mark IV Supra in the last 15 years, you know those things are insanely expensive. And if you're looking to modify something, what you don't do is buy something that's insanely expensive. So, what's somebody who wants to build something interesting want to do? Well, fortunately, you can find a lot of those 2JZ GTE platforms out there for purchase for not terribly expensive. And you can stick them in just about anything you want to. So, if you were going to buy a 2JZ GTE and you wanted to build something cool, what would you build? Well, my money, and in this case our customers' money, is sticking with Toyota and building an older generation Mark III Toyota Supra with a newer generation Mark IV Toyota Supra GTE. Originally powered by a 7M GTE, they were pretty capable cars, these Mark III Supras. However, as many of you would know, Mark III Supra has a little bit of a bad reputation due to some issues from the factory that Toyota had with improperly cranked down head bolts. Now, the 7M GTE, pretty good platform. 2JZ GTE, much better platform. So we're building this car for a good customer of ours, Jeremy Moore. It's a 1989 Toyota Supra Turbo. Comes with the correct R154 transmission and the correct 373 limited slip rear end. So it gives us a great platform to build from. All we needed was a heart to put under the hood, which, as you can see, we've got that under control. Now let me introduce you to Jeremy. We'll talk about his build a little bit. Alright, so this is Jeremy Moore. Nice to see you again, sir.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good. So this is Jeremy, and this is Jeremy's 1989 Toyota Supra Turbo. This was not the original plan for this man. We had talked about, over a number of years, building something kind of interesting for him. This kind of just accidentally ran into us. So initially, what were you thinking here?
So I'm a photographer, and usually I'm carrying around a whole bunch of photo gear, stands, soft boxes and stuff like that. So I was looking at a Dodge Magnum, and I always just thought those things were pretty cool, and you know, we could soup them up. They got the Hemi in them, lower them down. They look mean.
They're a pretty unique vehicle.
Yeah,
They are.
I was kind of sad to see them go, and so that was the original plan. I was looking online for them, trying to price them out and see what I could do with them, see what other people were doing with them. And then, so my buddy Nate called me, and him and his buddy Brendan had a red 91 Supra. And so Nate got this, and they were kind of just doing their thing, and Brendan just up and got rid of his, and Nate had a whole bunch of adulting he had to do. He had to buy a house and had a baby on the way and all that. So he rolled it past me, and I tried to sell it to you first.
Yeah. Right.
And so Austin's always working on cars, and he said, "It's really nice, but I need that like I need a hole in the head."
I have a lot of projects. I just recently sold a 1987 Toyota Supra.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't need this car.
So I thought about it for a while, and I started looking around what people were doing with the 2Js and this platform and what they were like making them look like, you know, everything. And then of course, you know, you revisit the Fast and Furious.
Sure.
You know, and I was kind of hooked. You know, it sold me. YouTube sold me on the car.
Well, and it's hard to overstate the amount of influence that the Fast and Furious franchise had
Oh, for sure.
on our generation.
For sure.
As much as people want to malign it and talk about the cheesiness and how completely inappropriate most of the technology and a lot of the scripting in it is, the West Coast car culture, especially the import car culture, swept across this country in the early 2000s because of that movie.
Oh,
I mean, it generated tens of billions of dollars. It affected everything in production.
Right.
Even manufacturers started building cars that were more interesting because of that movie.
So kids can, you know, tune with them, and
Yeah, absolutely.
some were failures.
So this car originally was a 7M GTE car. It is an original turbo car, which is awesome because that means it comes with the correct things. But when you bought this car, this already had a 2J in it. The 7M was already gone.
Yeah, the guy that he bought this off of was a drifter, and he had not drifted with this yet, obviously. And just looking around, it's in pretty good shape. So he had planned to take the 7M out, put the 2J in, and then something happened, and sponsors changed or whatnot, and he changed platforms completely, and just sold it with the motor sitting in it. So when we got it, the 2J was sitting in it, no wiring harness and nothing. It was just sitting there.
Right.
Not even bolted
Not even
down.
bolted in. So the nice thing is we're starting with a pretty clean platform. This car is actually really, really clean. For the late 80s, early 90s Toyotas, a lot of these didn't get very well taken care of. They've got dings and dents and rust and broken all kinds of things. This car is actually really, really solid for what it is, which is one of the reasons we talked about this was a good idea to build this. It came with a 2JZ GTE Aristo, which is your JDM spec. If anybody who's ever looked into doing swaps, that's your most common way that you swap these cars into a 2JZ is you grab a Japanese spec 2JZ GTE. So that was already sitting in here. We just had to figure out how to make it all work. So we've worked with a number of different vendors for pieces and parts. One of our big guys that we go to on any of these 2JZ builds is Drift Motion in California. Those guys are fantastic. They source parts for you as well on this machine. They've done parts for our IS300 Turbo as well. This is a fantastic company that does absolutely wonderful customer support, and they've helped us out immensely. So we're going to get ready to get this thing going. We've got 2 weeks, give or take, until this thing needs to be done. And,
If I had it my way, it'd be done tomorrow.
Not to be like Gas Monkey Garage here, but we've got 2 weeks to get this thing built. And as you can see, we got no engines. There's no transmission, there's no engine, there's no wiring. There's missing an entire front clip.
Right. It's a completely empty bay because I plan on painting the car red. I'm doing an Akira theme. If anybody's seen the old 80s anime movie. I've always really dug the bike that Kaneda rode on. And so I didn't want to paint the engine bay after the engine was in it. So we painted the engine bay, and it's gonna hold my feet to the fire to get the rest of the car painted.
Right.
So
now that the engine bay is going to look beautiful, you got to make the rest of the car look nice.
right, I got to make the rest of the car look nice. It's silver. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's gonna be awesome.
So in the meantime, it's going to be kind of a sleeper. Nobody will know.
Yes. Yeah. I'm perfectly happy taking some lunch money.
At closed courses and on racetracks only, because we don't condone illegal street racing. So, that wraps up our intro video on the 1989 Toyota Supra Turbo, project for Jeremy Moore here. The next episode you're going to see with this vehicle is actually going to be the brake conversion. We're going to do a kind of a custom setup Brembo 4-piston caliper upgrade. Unfortunately, in the world of race cars and street cars, many times we will upgrade our go, but we stop thinking about upgrading the woe. This car was designed to stop like 250 wheel horsepower. Not probably what we're going to be making out of it. So
We're surprised.
It better make more than 250 horsepower, or we're going to be really have a bad conversation. So we're going to upgrade the brakes on this guy. We're going to do a separate video for that because we've had a lot of people ask about how to do this upgrade. So we're going to lay out everything for you in the next video that you will see here very shortly, and do the driver's side here. We're going to do pistons, calipers, and we're actually going to swap you over to a coilover conversion at the same time. So we're going to get that all done, and then we're going to start moving forward, getting this motor done. So Jeremy, appreciate you swinging by, showing off the car. Please remember to subscribe to our channel so you can keep tabs on this build as well as many others. Drop us a like, drop us a comment, and we'll see you next time.